how are investors supposed to calculate whether or not the shares are expensive or not? So here to help us tackle that question and really get, once again, to the fundamental story that is Nvidia is Bloomberg Intelligence Senior Semiconductor Analyst Kunjan Subani. He is with us from San Francisco. Kunjan, it's good to have you here. We do talk with you a lot about Nvidia and the fundamental story. Remind us of that and how you see it fundamentally. What is Nvidia and the outlook for this company?
Yeah, and I want to bring back to sort of the numbers, right? Like whenever we are deviating, whether it's a hype or not, look at the numbers. Going back to sort of end of 2022, early 2023, when ChatGPT really came alive in the world. If you look at Nvidia's numbers, right, it had about per quarter revenue of about 7 billion, approximately 10 cents of earnings. This is when the first time they started to see their data center revenue, from which is all the AI, really jump. Fast forward to right now, most recent, the revenues have increased 4x. EPS has increased about 7.5x. And as of today, the market cap from that point, which was 500 billion, sort of 6x. So if you look at the numbers, it was really a fundamental driven story. So that at least should help sort of clarify some of these hype versus reality and fundamentals, whether it justifies or not.
Okay, well, speaking of justification, a lot of people talk about the idea of Nvidia having this moat. Nobody else is doing what it's able to do when it comes to building the hardware that all these companies need to train their AI models on, Kunjan. So I'm wondering about when you think about projecting revenues from a Bloomberg Intelligence analyst perspective here, how are you projecting revenues out over the next few quarters, over the next few years? How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, similar to most sell-side analysts, we have also struggled to, get to the right number every quarter for them, and they keep on beating and raising. There's a few factors here. One, as you must have heard this so many times, they continue to remain supply constrained. So that's difficult for us to know, right? Like how much supply will come up and how much they can execute. And second, we keep looking at the spending pattern of their largest customers. I mean, look, in 2024, their largest hyperscale and cloud customers have already publicly announced that they are going to increase their capex by 40% year over year. And now there's even more than that. There's the tier 2 cloud providers, the AI cloud providers, and enterprise spending coming on. So we try to keep a close eye to see if there is any signs of demand slowing, which we don't see at this point.
What's the replacement cycle for chips from Nvidia? Like, how long do they last? How long will they upgrade? You know, Nvidia talks about kind of the upgrade cycle being a pretty quick one. So I'm curious, are these companies that are the big spenders and that are building it out, are they going to have to replace their Nvidia chips, I don't know, every 6 months, 12 months, 2 years? I don't know.
Yeah, that would be a good answer if you are in a normalized cycle for any chip, like you are in CPUs or for handsets. The challenge right now is all of the customers are just rushing to get most powerful chips they can get their hands on and continue building. So we have to wait and reach a digestion phase where they sort of reach a normalized spending period and they start thinking about, okay, now I'm going to refresh my older AI chips. So right now, I think the replacement cycle is really short, even if you want to call it a replacement cycle. As they come out with the newer Blackwell chips, their newer Grace Hopper, 200 series, customers are just picking them up and trying to put in as fast as possible, because the biggest gating factor right now in upgrading these AI servers is power. So every new chip brings a lot more TCO, a lot more power per performance efficiencies.
Kunjan, we can't let you go without asking you about potential competition here in the space. It's something we ask Ian King a lot about. Who else out there is doing something, at least on the development side, that could get close to Nvidia? What's your perspective there?
I mean, on the merchant silicon, it's the only other name viable contender there is AMD, which we have talked about multiple times. Again, they are also, but look, the system software mode that Nvidia has, even with a good GPU solution, it's very hard to beat that. On the other end, there's the competition from the ASIC providers like the Broadcoms, not competing directly with Nvidia's GPU right now, but I think in the long term, it is going to eat into the wallet share and the dollar spend that its customers would be spending on Nvidia GPUs versus their own ASICs.
All right, Kunjan, I know you don't recommend stocks and so on and so forth, but this 3-day rout that we've seen that has wiped off about 10%, more than 10% off Nvidia, it's, in your view, not because the fundamental story is coming undone. Maybe it's, for who knows what reason, but it's not because fundamentally Nvidia is falling apart.
Definitely not. We don't see any fundamental flex right now,
All right.
especially over the last week.
All right, well said. Bloomberg Intelligence Senior Semiconductor Analyst Kunjan Subani joining us from San Francisco.